Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Black Metal Rebellion. I'm your host, Jesse Morgan, and today we have a review to do, and that's on the band called Saarkoth with their debut album called Jera, which was released in September of 2018. If you don't know who Saarkoth is, they are a melodic, atmospheric black metal band from the United Kingdom that started in 2016. The members of the band consist of Ellis Arnott on vocals and guitar, Lewis Baker on lead guitar, Asa Jones on bass and vocals, and recently Daryl Payne on drums. Now let's talk about Jera, shall we? The vocals on this are kind of like this airy, strained, kind of raspy, mid-pitch style of growls. It's about mid to high in the mix. For the most part, it's on the same level as the guitars. Sometimes here and there it's a little bit lower, sometimes here and there it's a little bit higher, but most part it kind of hovers around this area. Pardon me. It's a bit gravelly at times. Some lower pitch growls are here and there as well. I'm assuming the higher pitch ones are one vocalist and the lower pitch ones are the other vocalist, so that being Alice and Asa. They're performed pretty consistently throughout the album, though. It doesn't go all over the place. You can pretty much expect what you hear from the very first track to kind of be what you hear all throughout to the last track. They're mostly kind of from the throat, though. Kind of, I feel like they're lacking in some like diaphragm and projection, though. The lows were performed probably a little bit better than the higher vocals, but overall, they seemed like they could use some improvement, but still not terrible. As for the guitar, this is where the album definitely shines. The guitarist has a slightly crunchy tone with some minor gain and distortion, and the cleans have some reverb going on. As for where they are in the mix, they're about mid to high in mix, and they definitely seem to be the focal point of the album. It ranges from tremolos to kind of atmospheric clean riffs to some dissonant chords and some melody here and there. There's even like a Sabbath style riff in the middle of Awake in Eternal Sleep, and there's definitely lots of kind of feels going on throughout this guitar-wise for a black metal record. So yeah, I definitely appreciate what was going on in the guitar department for this album, and man, it is some great stuff. So kudos to Lewis and Ellis on that. Now for the bass, it was actually detectable, which is kind of also different for black metal, because normally it gets either buried in the mix or it's completely absent altogether. But this bass, done by, once again, Asa Jones, was pretty crisp and punchy, and was a kind of a mid to low tone, not super duper low. It definitely beefed up the thickness of the songs, gave the atmospheric and melodic riffs kind of a decent platform to land on and deliver, and it kind of comes in and out throughout the album where it needs to. It comes to the front, does some little kind of peekaboo bass elements, and then drops back into the mix on a more like steady level. Now for the drums, I found they were about mid-level in the mix. Sometimes it would slip just below mid-level, but then come back in, depending on what happened. There is kind of like an odd, like when the lower, deeper tones of the songs kind of kicked in, it would kind of like get quiet, and then once it stopped happening, it would like brighten back up when the higher notes came in. It's kind of like this weird kind of flux or like pulse. Not sure if that was intentional or if it was just what was going on with the production and the mixing, but that's kind of what sort of happened. But anyways, the drums had some solid kicks in there, a solid snare going on. There's a great use of cymbals and tom work. The drums kind of had this place to shine once again on track 6 during that kind of Sabbathy riff, and elsewhere throughout that track as well. You can definitely hear like the tom work and stuff going on, which is really neat. Anyways, the drummer was good at slow and fast pace, and basically just a well-rounded performance overall. So cheers to Daryl Payne on the drums. Now let's go over to my favorite tracks on this album, that being number 6, Awake in Eternal Sleep. And once again, that Sabbath riff really was kind of surprising, and not out of nowhere in a bad way, but in a good way. Just like, oh wow, I was not expecting this amazing riff to just appear here. And it also had some like excellent atmosphere and other riffs going on throughout the song. It wasn't just kind of like one steady kind of pace throughout. It had some a bunch of stuff going on throughout. So I really enjoyed that one. And then the self-titled track Jera for the album. It's basically just had some amazing melody and some beautiful composition. For a 7-minute and something second long track, I had so much fun with it. It just flew by. It could have easily been a 15-minute song with how much is going on, how much I enjoyed it. I definitely could have savored that song a little more, and it could have, like I said, been 15 minutes and still as enjoyable. So yeah, for a 7-minute long song, that thing just came at you with all the goodness. So yeah, Awake in Eternal Sleep and Jera are the highlight tracks for this album to me. Now let's talk about some overall thoughts. Basically, Jera is a fantastically epic landscape of riffs and melody, and atmosphere that truly just kind of captivates and excites the listener for sure. Can go from somber and beautiful to heavy and aggressive all within one track, and done seamlessly and enjoyable. The guitaring is off the charts, as I kind of sort of hinted at earlier, and it's not just like fast tremolos and endless dissonance. It really brought home like a bunch of different sleeves, tricks up the sleeve for sure, and I can't wait to see what else these guys come up with in the future. It kind of reminded me a bit of a mix of Drook and Summoning and Windear and like other kind of black metal bands that had some like exciting elements to it. So if that sounds anything up your alley, definitely give these guys a shot. This band is has an insane amount of potential for sure. So if these guys can take this to the next level with the writing and production, look out, because you'll definitely want to keep your eyes on Saarkoth in the future for sure. With that being said, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The only thing that could be improved with this, once again, is kind of the vocals. The vocals are like the low point of this for me. They could have benefited from like maybe a pop filter or a de-esser at times, because the hard P's and the sounds kind of really like bite in at times. Not all the time. Like there are times where he does like the P noises or the S noises, and they're not so like all up in the mic's grill, but there's just odd times where you can like, oh, that could have used a pop filter, or oh, that S noise is kind of aggressive here. And perhaps some more like diaphragm and projection work, because once again, I feel like it was all from the throat and neck, and if it wasn't for the corpse paint, if they wear that, they'd definitely be like red in the face. I could just kind of see it right now, recording just like completely red face, trying to do these vocals with like a vein up your fucking neck. So maybe just, I don't know if you guys are, if that's what's going on, but from what I'm hearing, that's kind of what it sounds like. Maybe if it's not, maybe try to get a program that gives the vocals some more power, or find a way around that, either by practicing a little bit more with diaphragm and projection, or just get a mic and some software that captures your real vocals. So definitely check into that. And if it's still an issue, I don't know if you guys even see it as an issue. I'm talking to Saarkoth, of course. Maybe find like a slight distortion effect on the vocals, and maybe boost the low end a bit in it, and it might give it more power. But for me, that was kind of the only thing that was kind of lacking in this amazing album. So yeah, once again, 8 out of 10. Excellent job on the guitars, the bass, and the drums. And although I'm kind of ragging on the vocals a bit, they're still not like terrible. Like they, with everything else that's going on, it was still tolerable. It was still listenable. I'm not like sitting there kind of cringing every time the vocalist comes in. It's not that bad, but it's when the first thing you hear is kind of like that airy, like struggling, like kind of vocals. I don't know. I just feel like it could be a little better. Not that my vocals are any better, but you know, I found a way around it, and I know you guys can too in the future. So, man, looking forward to the future of Saarkoth. They got some amazing composition. Go check them out. I'm Jesse Morgan, and you can bet your ass I would buy this album. For Glory, for the Rebellion, Slammerella out.